Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
Are you interested in automatically collecting investor commitments and processing distributions? InvestNext offers these features and more, giving you the opportunity to manage your entire portfolio on one institution-grade platform. At LifeBridge Capital, prior to partnering with InvestNext, our team struggled to provide visibility for our investors. We needed the ability to share data on our projects, process payments, and view performance all in one place. Since adopting InvestNext, my team has the tools they need to effectively manage the entire life cycle of each syndication. From capital raising and waterfall calculations to distribution payouts and securely delivering K1s, we have everything we need in one platform. These features give our investors access to all their data in one place. We no longer are wasting time fielding basic investor inquiries about their investment performance. They're able to log in, see all of their documents, view their capital accounts, as well as invest in any current offerings, all from their mobile or desktop browser. If you want to learn more, book a demo at investnext.com and enter the promo code Whitney for 15% off your first 3 months. This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guests are August Biniaz and Ava Benesocky. Thanks. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So much for having us, Whitney. We're
Very
excited to be here.
And honored to be here.
And honored to be here.
Great. Well, I'm honored to have you on the show. I mean, you have some skill sets that I feel like any operators or even passive investors, especially if they're Canadian, but any operators that are listening right now can learn from you and learn how to do some things compliant, to be compliant and really be able to help investors that are looking to partner with them that may be in Canada. And so we've had this question often on the show or even with other investors over the years. And so this is great and timely. So, but August and Ava have been Canadian real estate professionals for the past 15 years. They fell in love with the apartment syndication concept and developed a compliant and tax efficient process for Canadians to invest in U.S. multifamily syndications. They created CPI Capital, .ca, by the way, and they are hosts of the CPI Academy YouTube show. Welcome to the show, guys. First, why is it so difficult for Canadians to invest in U.S. real estate?
I think the difficulty, if I may take this, Ava, the difficulty for Canadians wanting to invest in U.S. real estate. First of all, Canadians are conservative people, and to invest now international investment and having to invest in the U.S., especially on the multifamily side where there's lots of moving components. There's an operator, there's a property manager, the financing. There's a lot of barriers to cross for Canadians. Also, tax issues that exist, the structure that exists. So many different folds and reasons that exist for Canadians looking to invest in the U.S.
Well, I want us to get into some of the tax stuff. And I know you all have to work very hard to just ensure you're compliant and all these things for your investors. Let's back up a little bit. Give us a little bit of your background and moving into, where you're at now in this syndication business, but even, coming from Canada.
Definitely. Yeah. My background is in construction and development here locally in the west coast of Canada, Vancouver. I started 16 years ago as a licensed agent and moved on to, I wasn't really good at being a licensed agent. So I was good at finding deals. So I moved on to start doing small fix and flips, started my own general contracting company, start building single family homes more on the luxury side. And I was looking to scale my company, and I started doing multifamily where I needed to raise capital. I didn't even know what raising capital was at that time, but I was raising from family, friends, business associates. But I realized that the asset class I was focusing on, building multifamily here in Vancouver, might not be the right asset because of the term of the project. It was very long. There was bureaucracy at many different levels of government, and also it wasn't really a business-friendly place to do business in. There was no kind of cash flow or returns coming back to investors, my partners, myself, for the whole term of the project. Sometimes it would take as long as 5 years to do a multifamily project. So I was always looking for a different type of asset class, and that's when I met Ava. And if you want to give your background,
of course. A little bit about me. I've been a real estate agent for over a decade. And as I was selling real estate here in Vancouver, the average house price is 1.2 million. I was dealing with hundreds of investors who were coming to me and they're saying, Ava, everybody's taught to invest in real estate, right? So Ava, find me cash flow. This is what I want. And this is what I need. And essentially, as I was kind of dealing with investors on the residential side, I noticed that there's this massive pain point for real estate investors here in Canada, and life works in mysterious ways. And as I was dealing with all that, I met August. And we kind of came together, and that's where CPI formed. And that's where we kind of started our company, where we.
So yeah, CPI started because we both saw a need. Ava on the investor side, where people were having a difficult time to purchase their primary residence, let alone to buy another kind of investment property. All the information, most of the information they're receiving is from the U.S. side, where there's talk about cash flow, the 1% rule, and that's non-existent here in Canada.
Yeah, maybe let's take a step back. So in Canada here, cap rates are super compressed. As an investor, when you purchase just one property, you're in negative cash flow. So this concept of cash flow, when August and I started really diving in to form, a CPI Capital and deploying capital from Canada into the US, you guys talk about cash flow and these incredible returns. Well, keep in mind, conservative Canadians, they're super happy with a 5 to 6% annual return.
Gross.
So imagine that. We got super excited that August literally left his full-time career as a developer. I left my full-time career as a real estate agent, and we formed CPI Capital.
Again, goes back to the need that existed and that we realized that investors here in Vancouver and Toronto, the biggest cities in Canada. And we realized that, hey, on the other side, the first time I heard about this idea of apartment syndication, and it was watching a YouTube show, Dan Hanford from PassiveInvesting.com had this YouTube show, and he was talking about buying already built apartment communities, doing some small renovation, selling it in 3 to 5 years, giving great returns back to his investors. But what shocked me was that they did a conventional kind of financing on a 70-30 LTV. They were able to pay from the rents they collected, they were able to pay their mortgage payment, pay their taxes and fees, pay a third-party property manager, and still be left over with a significant surplus to pay their investors 6 to 10%, even sometimes more. And
nothing we've ever heard of before here in Canada. So we're like,
it's just incredible that you all have found this need. You got excited about this, and then you found an opportunity you can provide to so many other people, right? So many other investors. I'm sure there's listeners right now that are that aren't as familiar with the issues there. But why, probably thinking like, why can't Canadians invest in the U.S.? What's the big holdup there? What's the problem? Well, can you all just, I guess highlight what that problem is and then how you all have overcome that or provided this avenue?
So the first problem that we realize is when speaking with different groups, active operators in the U.S. who are syndicating deals, they were not accepting Canadian investors. And the ones that were accepting Canadian investors were asking the Canadian investor to create a LLC and invest through the LLC in their investment. And that in some ways made it compliant. And what we realize is when a Canadian investor invests across the border in the US and uses an LLC to invest into a syndicated investment or into a fund, they are double taxed. And they're paying as high as 65% on any kind of capital gains, any kind of profits they make. So it renders the investment pretty much useless. So that was one hurdle that we realized that existed. Second issue is, again, going back to this idea of conservative Canadians, is when they're investing with a U.S. operator, they're investing with someone that they may not know. And if there is something unscrupulous that happens on the U.S. side, or if there is something that takes place, now they're involved in international litigation. They've invested with a firm that there's somebody they can on this side of the border. So that was another hurdle that we realized. And also now on the educational side, a lot of the content that was coming out and being produced was from the U.S. podcast videos such as yours that we love. But we realized, hey, that's another part that's missing here. So those were the hurdles that existed for Canadians just to invest directly with an operator. That we realized and we try to solve.
And Whitney, the terminology too that's used in Canada and the US is different as well. So a Canadian listener listening to maybe a podcast from the United States, it can be very confusing. So we wanted to form this platform where Canadians, we can hold their hands through the whole process, educate them on the relief from double taxation and kind of create this excitement on this side of the border.
So there's a thought that they could create an LLC in the States, and that sounds great, right? The entity makes money, but the money has to stay there, right? It gets taxed in the US, but they can never bring that money to Canada without it being taxed again. Is that right?
Exactly.
All right. So how do you all overcome that tax burden? How do you all legally bypass that being double taxed?
It was many calls and conversation with lawyers all across Canada, talking to security compliance, corporate lawyers across Canada. And every time you talk to a lawyer, they have a new concept, a new idea. Not that they were saying anything wrong. It was just they were seeing it from a different angle. So it took a lot of time for us to create the structure, allowing for investors to be able to invest into a Canadian fund, and then that Canadian fund to invest into a US fund. So now there needs to be certain structures created from right up front when an asset is being put under contract, where it needs to be in communication with us and our attorneys and our accountants, which they're instructing the U.S. operator, or if we are the operator, they're instructing us how to structure the deal. So it's done through a web of corporations and limited partnerships.
And there's actually a tax treaty that exists between Canada and the U.S. So there is this foreign tax credit if you set up the corporation properly, the web of corporations and limited partnerships. And that's where our investors are relieved from double taxation.
Nice. And at least I know you all mentioned also investing with someone internationally and somebody you don't know. If there was an issue, oh my goodness, the complexity of trying to get that figured out or get any capital back would probably be, you'd have to spend, throw more money at it than you probably invested, right? To get the capital back. And so I assume it's great that, investors can know you all and know that you all have done some vetting or you've got to know this operator before you go and invest or partner with someone in the States. Is that accurate?
Exactly. Well said.
Well said.
So any other, anything as far as Canadian investors need to know or that you could share? And I would imagine more of the listeners right now that are operators, let's say that. What about operators that are listening right now? Anything else that they need to know as far as they have Canadians that may be contacting them to say, hey, I'd love to invest in your deal. What are some steps that they should know to, direct that Canadian investor to do?
No, absolutely. And one of what we realized is for the groups who were accepting Canadian investors, they were just requiring the Canadian investor to create a US LLC. This is not tax efficient. So of course, on the educational side, it's important to forward the investor to their Canadian CPA to understand what's the best ways to go about it. And there's great cross-border firms that specialize in Canadians looking to invest in the US, but also getting in touch with groups like us. We are the facilitators for Canadians to be able to invest in the US. So if you are a US operator and you notice that your reach or your marketing reach it's going across the border and you're having a lot of Canadians looking to invest, partnering with a group like us allows that process to be streamlined so that Canadian investors will be investing in our fund. Each investment that we partake in, the fund is project specific. So we create a fund, we create a legal entity and the corporate structure for that investment, so the investors can always. And then we're also nurturing those investors. So that's kind of out of the work of the U.S. operator room. We are through our investor portal, through our compliance department, we're taking care of the investors for the term of the project. So that would be my advice, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely numerous things to figure out there as you're taking international investors from any country. But different countries are very different, right? Just that, like you talk about having tax treaties between certain countries, and you're just not typically going to know that, as the common operator. But As far as I was thinking through like real estate in Canada and partnering on projects, in the kind of fund that you all have, would this be considered a closed fund or open fund, or you said it's deal by deal? Is that right?
Yeah.
Did I understand that?
Deal specific.
Yes, deal specific fund. And the term fund is very broad. So we're basically discussing in most cases, a Canadian limited partnership is what the investors will be investing into as limited partners.
For each deal.
Okay. So tell me some of the, maybe some of the common questions that Canadian investors may have for you all, just the risks that they see or the concerns that they have.
Well, I want to tell a quick funny story about our fellow Canadians over here. This concept of, August and I, we've started our educational platform, and we had people reaching out to us, and they're starting to hear about these forecasted returns. And it was really funny. One of my advisors, a couple of our advisors were like, hey, maybe you guys should take it down a notch with the returns that you're talking about, because Canadians actually are saying, this is too good to be true. It doesn't sound real. So we're really noticing that's kind of been a little bit of a thing that we've been talking to Canadians about and saying, hey, listen, this is it. And this is where we partner with the active operators so that we can show Canadians, hey, this has been done over and over and over again. And these are the type of returns. So that's one thing that they kind of reach out and start asking us.
Great point. Yeah.
What's another thing, August?
Yeah, but just to add to that point is so you got to see your avatar, your investor base, right? They're so used to the market here in Canada, and we were just doing this calculation the other day. So the average condo price in City of Vancouver is $800,000, and if you go by the 1% rule, which in some places in the U.S. you could still easily get that. Yes. That's $8,000 a month rent, where an average price for that condo here in Vancouver is $2,500. So they're in extreme negative cash flow. So when you're talking about investing in a real estate project as limited partners with limited liability, investing a much lower amount that they're entering into even a condo in Vancouver, and be totally passive and have cash flow from day one, that's when it becomes, hey, this sounds too good to be true. And that's one of the hurdles we had to face to possibly bring down some of our projected returns, and rather than monthly distributions, turn our distributions to more quarterly. So yeah.
Under promise.
Why would Canadian investors buy real estate in Canada if it's negative like that? What's their incentive?
Incentive is appreciation, and incentive is there's nothing else available. And the idea is, for capital preservation, you need to invest. And I've had this conversation on the larger multifamily side, because since we're in that space with many brokers here in Canada, is like, how are you selling these projects at 2% cap rate? I understand somebody who's a multi-generational family, or somebody who's owned this a project for a long time, and it doesn't matter what the cap rates are, because they've owned it for a long time. They don't have a mortgage payment, but someone who's entering that asset class or is looking to scale their business, they're going to, depending on how much down payment they're going to be putting, they're going to be it doesn't economically make sense. And that's why you have groups like us literally looking down to the US to invest. We could have easily been doing this business model or other business models here in Canada, but unfortunately, it doesn't allow for this business model to be feasible.
And at the end of the day, as a real estate investor here in Canada, it's just not an easy business to get into. And then you're being an active investor. As an active investor, then you're really tied up to how you can scale that side of things too, because a busy professional, you can only do so much.
And to compound that, we had a conversation with our good friend, Dale Schuss, who has been a property manager for 30 years. Yes. And I'm like, hey, Dale, on the US side, the property managers also are involved in renovations on most projects. So it's like a one-stop shop. He's like, yeah, that never happens here in Canada. We're way behind the US. We never get involved in any kind of renovations. So it's a different game. It's so exciting that's converted us.
Us. Now we're trying to convert everybody else so that
it's awesome. This thing you all have created to allow Canadians to be able to invest and have cash flow, right, and not be negative. So what's the biggest risk there? An investor's talking to you, they're asking you about, I'm looking to invest with you all and invest some in these deals in the US you all are talking about. What's their biggest risk?
Incredible question. So as we form a limited partnership, we're the general partners and our investors are the limited partners. So they have limited liability. So the risk is the investment that they put in. So that's another thing that really attracts busy professionals and our investors is that there's limited liability, not like a joint venture agreement where they're going to be kind of held on.
They're going to have responsible,
Exactly.
they're going to have liability. And also like when you talk about the investment world, especially in this day and age, we're talking about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies or venture capital. There's so many different investments where you're investing in an idea, whereas in real estate, you're investing in a tangible investment, something you can touch, you can feel. The investors can, we're going to be offering on our future investments a chance for investors to come and do an actual visit on the property and get to vacation, in warmer weathers in the U.S.
The snowbirds.
In my experience in the last 15 years, I haven't seen more of a safe investment than U.S. multifamily. I mean, look at the last two cycles, the 2008 and 2020. The multifamily was, especially on the larger side, was the most resilient asset class. So we feel pretty safe as far as...
You're preaching to the choir here.
100%.
No, I completely agree. No doubt about it. Tell me, as you all are partnering with these operators in the States, and we talked about, biggest risks and things like that investors need to know. How do you ensure that an operator is prepared for a downturn?
Great question. So now this idea of partnering with U.S. operators, at times we speak to our advisors, consultants, our investors, our associates, and it seems like an easy process where we pick up a phone and call someone and just partner with them. They go through a vigorous process with us, and it's not only on underwriting the group and having look at their track record and the deals they've done. It's also their relationship with their investors, the type of returns, the type of fees they charge. There's so many different components of it. Also, the fact that it's how transparent they are with us in conversations. So it's a multi-layer, multi-level kind of a process that we go through, all done very professionally, and we've ended up being very close friends with operators. But the U.S. totally different world, is very business friendly. We've noticed, we felt like they've accepted us with open arms. So it's been great.
I say, we're coming in as the 51st state. So
we'll say that to any patriotic Canadian. They might not like that.
Yeah. No. What about any predictions that you all have just for the real estate market in general over the next 6 to 12 months?
I mean, again, it's on this multifamily side. I just feel, again, what through the cycles multifamily has been through, and what's happening with the Fed. I mean, on both sides, U.S. and Canada and the world, all that money being printed. The best hedge against inflation is real estate, especially multifamily, where it's cash flowing, especially workforce, where it's at $800 to $1,200 approximately rents. Everybody's going to need a home over, roof over their head. And if those people, and they lose their home, they're going to be on the streets burning down the country. So that's a demographic that needs to have, they're working hard, they have the blue collar jobs, and they need to have
everybody needs a place to live.
So we feel very bullish about the multifamily moving on, especially even post-COVID and through COVID now.
Do you all have any daily habits that you are disciplined about that have helped you achieve success?
Oh, yes. We're very structured. I'm a systems person. Achieving success is truly about systems that you have in place and perfecting those systems. And if they're not working, well, then you keep perfecting them. So we have a daily calendar that we
task management
program that we use.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Please.
Yeah, sorry, keep talking. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to
be
with Whitney Sewell show. But yeah, just like Ava said, it's our task management software, Asana, that we use. It's been life-changing for me in my real estate development business, where I hired an intern or junior project manager who came on. This was around 6 years ago, and I was giving him his tasks through email, and he took one look at me. He's like, "You don't have a project management software?" Like, he looked at me like. And I felt so embarrassed. I'm like, no, we do this. So that same day, I went out there and tried to online and try to find the task management software, and I found Asana, and it ended up being great. So
it's the best way to stay organized, and nothing gets missed. because you have your Monday, you check off the tasks that have been done, and the ones that haven't, you move to Tuesday, and you really just don't miss a thing. So organization and systems are key to success.
And the gym.
No, Asana is great. We use Asana also. It's it's really good.
Yeah.
What about your best source for meeting new investors?
Best source for meeting new investors.
Okay, we love. Okay, so our LinkedIn is
LinkedIn
incredible.
is huge. LinkedIn is huge. Just to give you a data on LinkedIn, only 1% of LinkedIn users make any kind of posts, or I'm not sure if that's regular posts or any post. But it's been a great platform for us to connect. Also, is much more professional than like Instagram. You might see the wrong profile.
Of course, and another way that we cultivate relationships with investors is by intermediaries, by partners. I go speak on platforms, much easier than just getting on one-on-one calls every day. But I go speak on platforms of people who have a investor base, and I kind of tell them what we're up to, and before you know it, they're signing up, wanting to learn more. So that's a really good way for us.
We have meetup groups across Canada about Canadians investing in the US. We have our YouTube show. Ava speaks on many platforms. LinkedIn is kind of the social media platform that we use. We have our as kind of the leads come in, we nurture those leads through our CRM. We do the conventional kind of, we follow the blueprint from our good friends down in the US.
And it's all about relationships, this business. So you got to treat those investors like gold.
Yeah, and it would be sure. If you had to divide it, so I would say probably around 75% of our time goes on to cultivating and nurturing those relationship with investors, and 25% of the time is on cultivating a relationship with operators and also underwriting deals that are coming in.
What's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
I think this, Ava always likes to say it. I think it's just one word: is resilience. It's just not
That's
stopping,
a good one.
Not stopping, no matter what.
And just giving it 100%. Where we don't feel like that. This is just it's something we're going to be doing for a while. We see this as something we're going to be doing for the rest of our career. We feel very strongly because we also feel like this business we're in is win-win-win. We call it. It's winning for our investors. It's winning for the community that we're in, because we go in and we add value to these apartment buildings, and it's also a win for the employees and the people who work with us, because they get jobs and they get to have earn a living. So it's win-win-win.
It's a beautiful thing, yeah.
How do you all like to give back?
Give back. I guess I could say this. Give like both me and Ava. I think it's through. No, we're not. I wouldn't say we're Goliaths when it comes to the world of real estate investing. There's obviously many other larger groups, but we get contacted by a lot of younger, newer investors or people looking to get into the space, and we have been very kind of helpful, educational, bring them on under our wing, show them the ropes. And I would say it right now openly, if you're here in Canada and you're looking to get into the space, more than happy to book a call with you. And we're very easy to reach. Our contact information, cell phone number is right out there. So more than happy to add value.
No, that's awesome. I think it's incredible to think about or know somebody like yourself. When Canadian investors contact us or somebody else, right? When we don't always know or understand how to do that the most tax efficient way, or just to ensure we're compliant as well. It's great to know somebody like yourself that's been there and done that, and now created a way to help Canadian investors to create positive cash flow, which is pretty incredible. If you're used to, or if your just expectation is for it to be negative and just wait for appreciation, that's pretty life-changing in itself. So thank you all so much for just coming on and sharing that and how you've gotten to where you're at, and tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Right on. So yeah, our website is just www.cpicapital.ca. You can reach me anytime at ava@cpicapital.ca.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And go ahead, August.
And yeah, just LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, we're huge. We're always on LinkedIn.
August Biniaz, CPI Capital, our YouTube show, Canadian Passive Investing. Reach out to us. Any questions? More than happy to add value. All the U.S. operators, bring us those good deals. Looking forward to bringing that billions of Canadian dollars your way. So get in touch with us.
A million accredited investors here in Canada.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.